we are going to be focusing on what is ahead of us, which is going to be another absolute banger of a series. Crackety, the HRE has made it through again. But he who shall not be named was also not banned. Ruse are coming to play.
You know, you can ban Ruse, you can ban HRE, but you cannot ban both. And this one, it's a little bit of a trade-off that we're seeing here, as VortiX is going to be able to secure the Ruse and CsO going to be able to snag the HRE. And we've seen CsO with the HRE time and time again. And, you know, he's been making a very, very solid impression with them, I gotta say, like when it comes to the overall gameplay style as well. It's very active, but still doesn't shy away from utilizing their great strengths in Imperial Age as well. VortiX with the Ruse, I mean, that's a classic. That's an L Sensei move, and it might be an L Sensei build order that we are going to be getting out from him here. I'm saying mass cav archers, mass spearmen, just a big ball of units that is gonna like hit your opponent at the great timing.
You know what's crazy? You mentioned L Classics for VortiX, but 2 of his L Classics got picked by CsO. English and Mongols. Mongols was even banned so that CsO could guarantee it.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, right? Like, wait, there's no English ban.
No, there's no English ban, but there was the Mongol ban, right? So, like, the Mongols is an interesting one. The English, I just think of it as a signature pick back in the good old VortiX days. I think the Mongol idea comes from excavation. We'll have to see if we get deep enough in the set for that. But excavation has a very unique mechanic with all the points of interest where you gather stone. And something that the Team Elephant boys realized is it's very good at essentially giving you 2 TC functionality as Mongols.
Yeah, but not just that, though. VortiX is always going to be happy with his pick there as well, as he does have access to the House of Lancaster. And House of Lancaster and Excavation with all of that free stone, which they are going to want for the manors, definitely feels great there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one on both sides. Outside that, like, Chinese Malis wouldn't make much sense there. English, French. So, like, I think it's just going to be probably China/Mali flex and then English/French flex for Frisian. English has been coming out a few times on Frisian, surprisingly enough, but we kick off here in Gorgeous Gorge. It's going to be in the blue, VortiX on the Ruse for game number 1, going up against what feels like the Chinese version of his brother, CsO, a master raider and a lover of knights from Team Elephant, is going to kick us off in the red with the HRE.
All right, let's see. Probably shouldn't be seeing any Dark Age aggression here this time around from the HRE. Typically against Ruse, they don't even go onto gold for the first 20 minutes in the game anyways, KP, so why even bother going for Dark Age aggression in this one? Sensible choice here, not going for that this time around.
I can burn his hunting cabins, right? It's not like he's just going to pull a village and repair it and I'm just going to rip my hair. Actually, no, you could have burned these. They're pretty far out.
Actually, this time around, definitely very far out. You couldn't even sneak a villager in there in order to try and repair without that one getting picked off there on both sides even. So, yeah, VortiX, I guess he kind of... It's a gamble, but looks like a one that's going to pay off here.
Yeah, it's expectations, right? You already hit it on the nail at the start. It's like, oh, what's the point of a Spearman rush against this Civ? The weird part is the Spearman could have been useful, though, right? Beyond just attacking the main base, the idea of denying pro scouts that you just know in your heart of hearts Ruse want to do.
Yeah, this one, though, CsO, he's got a great deer spawn behind his base. That's going to be very difficult for VortiX to really gain access to. VortiX has all the deer on his side, which could definitely be a point of contention there from CsO. He could just go out, move out there, and try and make it difficult for VortiX to get access to those. Interestingly enough, I feel like the second deer pack here from VortiX, it got shoved in a little bit closer towards the space due to the way that the gold mine spawns. So the second deer pack from VortiX is actually relatively close by comparison to what we usually see on Gorge.
Yeah, and if this is aggro, then HRE, of course, can block you out quite nicely there, but we haven't seen any aggression so far. It's just going to be the Rush of the Age, and we should be looking at what? Standard Arkin coming in. Usually feels really good on Gorge because of the location of the tree line, but no. We're going Meinwerk, and we are going to be seeing aggression.
Yeah, Meinwerk Palace coming in here, so +2 damage on both the Spearman and the Horseman. And later on, Castle Age, +2 armor on your knight. Definitely not going to complain about that one.
I mean, we have to be realistic about expectations here, Crackety. We're watching a CsO game, so we know the real reason why he's building that Meinwerk. It's for the knights. It's always for the knights.
In theory, right? Like, CsO, typically, he builds a stable, and then all of his keyboard buttons except the W key just breaks down, and he's only going to be able to spam knights from there on out.
Oh, no. It's actually a lot more cinematic than that. I've heard from Team Elephant they have to keep buying him new keyboards because what happens is like he loads into a game of Age of Empires 4, he builds a stable, and then all the other keys just pop out of his keyboard across the room. So he has to. Yeah, like it just happens. It's almost like he's just exuding too much pressure and the keyboard can't handle it, except for the W key, because as we know, the W key is the win key.
Question is if CSO is going to win with that one this time around. Meinwerk Palace is going to go up. He's going to need a couple of additional prelates, though, in order to keep all of his villagers inspired throughout all of this. But looks like we do have an early mill coming in, so he's going to not just try and deny his opponent's pro scout, but also going to go for his own.
Interesting here. You know, like HRE was kind of seen as more of like an anti-pro scouting civ. And not that they wouldn't pro scouts, but the idea is that you would open up with some sort of aggression, right? Like, for example, spin beginning because of the movement speed. But we're just not getting any of that. The interesting thing about this play, though, is like it could lead to a Burgrave type shenanigan. I'm just expecting that to not be the case, though, because of how good horse archers are at kiting.
Yeah, horse archers, they make it look very easy when they just run away from the horsemen. It's all about the numbers game. Critical mass, at some point, you just start one-shotting those horsemen. Early on, the horsemen still like do significant damage to them, though, and it looks like CSO are actually going to be able to hit that pro scout button first here. VortiX did also get that in courtesy of that golden gate, being able to trade out a couple of tickets there. And both players now just going to try and pump out a couple of additional scouts there. I think in the end, we should be seeing a relatively even split, I want to say. Oh, VortiX even going for the early archer range here, but that's going to get immediately discounted by CSO already having a stable out.
Yeah, I can kind of see where VortiX has come from, right? I feel like most H3 players would go spear/archer here to try and like deny the ruse. Archers 100%. In particular. But yeah, just classic CSO, loving his ponies a bit too much. But he has at least got time to reveal the play is the idea here, right? The tricky part is you don't really expect a Ruse player to send his scouts across the enemy side right now because pro scouts is just 25 seconds out.
Yeah, it's just something where you want to have the scouts already at the same point. And even though CSO killed a couple of the deer out here, VortiX is still going to take the time because there's not a lot to micro into right now. To lure in these deer even further just means that the first couple of deer are going to arrive inside of a space a little bit quicker. And yeah, it looks like VortiX is actually going to be the first one to move onto his opponent's side and try and snag some of his opponent's here. But CSO, yeah, he's going to be in a decent enough position to try and deny that.
Interesting. Rack's coming down as well. Huh. I mean, he may not have seen the archer range, right? That's the expectation. Is like when you both do pro scouts, you're both essentially playing a blind game until the first units are actually revealed in a fight.
It looks like VortiX is going to be the first one to steal a deer from his opponent. From the second deer pack out there. Yeah, it's going to be the first one to be taken away.
You ever feel like we watch these games where one player pro scouts or none of them pro scouts? It's very fascinating. And then you get back to both of... So if anyone needs to, I don't know, go cook some food, microwave, your microwave is that big, but yep, go do it now. You've got time.
Oh, man. In VortiX, he does have the scout advantage right now. 6 scouts still going to take 2 trips in order to fully deplete one of these deer camps. But since he always has like one of them out on the opponent's deer camp, it doesn't really matter that much.
Could he just like? Do you just try to stop your? I guess you have to age up, right? Like I was about to say, maybe you just try to stop Bruce aging up, but then I remembered that's the most comical and trivial idea in Age of Empires 4 right now. Like this civ always ages up, even when you starve them.
At this point in time, yeah, both players just going to try and hit that castle age behind this. Yeah, looks like VortiX is going to be the one to click that one in first. CSO already having 2 prelates out, though, means that he does have a little bit of a timing advantage here, potentially.
And oh, look, that landmark that no matter how low you think the gold count is going to be, it's always higher. High Trade House now on the way in. And I can already see the 116 written on the screen.
I mean, we do have a little high trade house nerf coming in, but it is a very, very little one. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference just because of the way the scaling works there. And looks... Oh, no. VortiX, he picked up another deer. We do have the first unit of the game going down.
The exhilarating Pro Scouts war continues. Oh, boy. Regnit's Cathedral coming in. Okay, scary thought. With the upcoming changes to deer shoving, are we just going to get more Pro Scouting?
Maybe. I hope we're getting back to a meta at some point in time where players move out onto the deer again, where you actually have something to raid. It's a difficult one, though. I think like the civs that are already pro scouting are just going to continue to pro scout.
Yeah, we are seeing some deviations to like by map designs to fix that, right? Like the new Frisian Marshes we've actually got in EGC Masters Summer has less deer. The old Frisian had 28 and the new one has 20. So there has been like design choices being made by developers of maps to try and alleviate the desire of pro scouting, which I like to see. It feels like long term is not the perfect solution, but it makes sense in the meantime. I'm still cheering for new food types.
Yeah, I would definitely be appreciated at this point in time. We do have the first couple of cav archers coming out, and most importantly, Prelate has been spot out on the map there from CSO. So these cav archers are going to move out now, try and snipe that Prelate before he's able to make his way back with that relic. Horsemen are nearby, but they are currently focused on different objectives. So we do see the horseman now starting to connect, but looks like that Prelate is going to go down. Isn't going to be the only Prelate out on the map, though, from CSO. He does have another relic on its way back home. VortiX, though, the warrior monks, they are quite a bit faster.
Yeah, I mean, this is the tricky part, right? Because he chooses greed first. He doesn't have the horseman to shut down the horse archer. As you said, like, small counts, horseman, great. But if the archer count is allowed to blob, you're going to feel quite irrelevant. And the other thing you have to remember is these are just feudal horsemen. There's no intent to upgrade them. CSO is going for that good old-fashioned barded armor build with the knights.
Yeah, first knight is in now. Warrior monk does want to he just wants to talk. He just wants to talk. He just wants to talk. Okay,
bro, like, whoa. All right, you talk like that at the dinner table, and we're going to have to call the police. What do you mean, Mom? I can definitely swing a spear around in the living room. Woo!
I've practiced for this. Okay, Waterloo coming in. Knight's going to have to fall back. We do see the horseman taking significant damage there. Able to pick up the first cav archer now as well. I'm not sure if this this warrior monk is going to make its way back, but this one definitely is. Like, the horseman's just going to tickle him.
Just ignore them. Just ignore them. Just ignore them. This is the thing about warrior monks. They still feel just absurdly tanky. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird unit, right? Because I think if you nerf their health, then you can't actually use them for their really interesting role, which is as a damage booster, right? By meleeing. 190 HP at the start of castle just always feels absurdly big, though.
Yeah. And I mean, the unit is significantly more expensive without the Abbey, right? So it's definitely an investment, but one that definitely pays off here in this one, as VortiX looks to be getting the lion's share of the relics here. 3-2 relics, and I mean, CSO with 2 relics, 320 compared to 240, but then you also have the gold from the high trade house.
Which is going to beat it.
Yeah, Bruce is going to be not just ahead, but eclipsing because of the deer generation as well.
No, we don't care about the scam Golden Gate. We want the free money. Oh, there you go. 132. So another 1.5 relics. But it's more than that when you consider the bounty system and how you just drop gold off when you get the food. Like, it's ridiculous how much passive gold Bruce is capable of.
Yeah. And now, sure, CSO, he does have the knights with +2 armor, but VortiX, he's going to have knights and cav archers with +25 HP. And at that point in time, it starts getting a little bit tricky here for CSO, at least once these units come in. At the moment, they haven't come in yet, so there's still a pretty solid timing here for CSO to do some damage, but damage is also going to be something that VortiX is going to be looking for.
Yeah, VortiX, he just needs to rally troops together. The horse archer's moving in on that tree line. Good reaction coming out. And with micro, VortiX should come out ahead here. It's just obviously it's a lot more micro focused for him, whereas CSO's units just need to A-click.
Yeah.
And also, Sacred Site's now been locked in, so VortiX is trying to stack up the gold. No, with this much gold, we could easily see him. There we go. Knight switch up on the way in. So he's going to mirror the knight play. Meanwhile, CSO is prepping for a switch into archers. The dive does come in underneath the primary TC in the meantime. That's going to ride past the other side. These guys are ridiculously tanky. They're lasting a long time on this assault.
VortiX now getting the own knights in. I mean, the cav archers, they do significantly less damage to these knights, just courtesy of that additional +2 armor. It's still insane, though, just how much more, just how much damage baseline the cav archers do. So they still are able to penetrate quite easily through that. But at the moment, these split up masses means that there isn't that critical mass that we usually talk about that's needed to take efficient trades there.
Yeah. It's just taking way too long. And like I said, it's a lot more micro. And we know VortiX, he has the capability. He's definitely an APM master. His years of experience in RTS has proved that. But it's still, the idea is like, if you're spending all this extra time just stutter stepping, what is CSO doing with that time, right? He can focus more on the macro side of things, the transition that comes next. Whereas VortiX won't have as much time to cycle for his production buildings, move his villagers to optimal locations, build new lumber camps. Like, these are small details that can add up. Even more so when you're against one of the most tempo aggressive economies in Age of Empires with the HRE.
We do have to dive in here. Boy's Fortitude not quite in yet, and we do have a little split off there. Knight is going to try and find some villager kills here. Looks like Textiles is in play, though, so VortiX isn't going to lose too many villagers. One of those knights feels like he's done a little bit of a Michael Jackson impression there for a little bit, was just running on the spot.
They're passing the batons and getting a few kills. And the Knights, I mean, it looked like VortiX was holding this really well. The Knights actually held on for a very long time, 1-1. But the problem here is just the tankiness, the raw tankiness of what CSO has. And the pump is never ending. Look at the mini-map. You just got more cav riding across. And the front line is thin. Like, this is the thing. VortiX, he has a good count of horse archers, but he has hemorrhaged some worker kills. So it's going to be 4 down on the eco count. And on top of that, you know, we've got to remember that although HRE did not get the Archon, they can pump out prelates to essentially get the Archon globally.
Yeah, exactly. Now also some Sacred Threads are going to get picked off here by CSO. VortiX, though, he did get Boy's Fortitude in, and we did see significantly just how much less damage these cav archers suddenly take from a hit from these knights. And yeah, CSO, he recognized that and was now tempted to pull back for the time being. Is also starting to get a couple more archers out, but yeah, like, look at the archers. You need a lot more. You need like 12, 13, 14 to start significantly like doing damage up, maybe even like 16, 17 archers in order to one-shot a cav archer there.
Yeah, you're like, well, CSO, I mean, you know, if we cut the knight production, no. But CSO, like, you need to count the archer. If you just deplete the knight count, no. Like, this is pretty much the response you get from him. We know CSO lives or dies by the ponies. It's been a consistent staple of his gameplay throughout his career as a player. He's like, they're so good when I play team games, so they're going to be even better when I play 1v1s.
Definitely plays into his style of gameplay. It does notice that scout up there, just spying on those villagers. One of those pigeons with the 5G chip inside, just being like, hey, word to my base, they're here.
Sorry, I had to like rebuffer my connection to the hub. So we've got the knight squaring up again. But the Boy's Fortitude is a big deal. Now that's going to be the extra armor as well as the damage. And this is where you'll clearly see VortiX start to take the lead in the fights.
Yeah, Saint's Blessing coming in as well on those cav archers. They already have a good base damage, but buffing that up even more means that CSO, he's going to really have to do something different now, I want to say. I think it's not just about the quality of units at this point in time. He also needs the mass. He's trying to get in some crossbows, but honestly, KP, I think maybe some horsemen at this point in time. He does have the Owl's Pike, in theory, or at least potential to get the Owl's Pike. So we'll have at least a little bit of a bonus on them in order to trade more effectively up against the cav archers there. A little knight-on-knight engagement there.
Yeah, worth it the way VortiX played that, though. If he got 3 worker kills in total, and remember, there's also Prelate there healing the entire time. He still just didn't care. So a worthwhile exchange. CSO, you know, he does still have a slight worker lead here. But VortiX is now in a position to do something about that. He starts to march in. Outposts are going to get garrisoned. He's posturing aggressively, but the thing that's missing here, the Warrior Monk hasn't stabbed, so no extra armor. Means VortiX doesn't want to fight yet.
And CSO, he's still very much active when it comes to producing units. VortiX, he stopped queuing up cav archers at the moment. It's just knights coming out from him. He's going to be able to utilize the wood for an eventual farm switch here as well.
It looks like
CsO, is he
bailed on the
just
gold.
retreating? Yeah.
Which, for a guy who likes spamming knights, is an interesting strategy.
Definitely not going to be able to just keep spamming up on 2 relics at the moment. Does have 2 sacred sites on top of that, but is making crossbows as well. Crossbows are now going to be able to do a significant amount of damage to the knights as well. No longer will those weak knights get away in these engagements.
He's not actually sending in the Warrior Monk for the blessing here, which is a lot of damage removed from the equation. There we go. Gets that one strike. I think should look a little bit better here, but maybe a little bit too late. The knight count getting low, so the crossbow transition has worked. VortiX, he's still not pivoting into something like Horseman that could start to make a lot of sense here. I think the barded armor is scaring him off of the idea.
Yeah, the remass now into Cav Archers, wants to get some more out. He realized that he's not quite yet at that critical amount that he needs to significantly do damage here, but the knight count is actually starting to thin out significantly now as well.
Yeah, because the difference here is one's running full cav, the other is running hybrid. So, like, CsO can't really trickle the troops out quick enough. He gets erased by the HA. He's got a few knights left over, but now you just enter kite mode until you get some more melee boys. So, great fight for VortiX, especially when you consider, like, the cost efficiency here, right? Is like, you know, CsO's leaned very hard on knights, while VortiX has relied on these horse archers that are a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, behind this though, VortiX, he lost all of his knights, right? So there was still significant damage done on both sides, and destruction value is actually neck and neck between these two, which is kind of crazy at this point in time. You would think that one would take a significant lead, but no, that's not happening here so far at all.
It's impressive that horse archers are remaining competitive, right? Because I feel like this is a comp that it's all about that tempo. It tends to fall off as the armies blob up, but that's what's impressive is it's remained resilient because the army counts aren't getting out of control. We're not seeing 70, 80, 90 units anytime soon.
Yeah. And now it's happening what you said earlier, KP. CsO, he pulled off of the gold, and now he's struggling when it comes to the gold access.
He's queued up horsemen. It's actually happening, and I mean, it's a cool idea, but my concern is VortiX, yes, you wipe the knights, but like he's building more of them. So he'll have a front line to block the horsemen.
Still have a great amount of knights as well, though, as long as he's able to keep those alive. And
nice use the Warrior Monk.
The Warrior Monk is going to go down.
Yeah, intentionally done so he could get another flurry of attacks out with bonus damage. So it is going to like pay off a little bit in terms of the trade of the one kill. Also got the distance for him to be able to turn and burn. We have got CsO once again overextending. This happened last time. This was the point, the area of the map where VortiX took a resounding lead at the tail end of the fight. It just feels like CsO is trying to sacrifice a lot to build space for this transition. But what's the worth of it if it costs you the entire Knight Battalion?
And there's still more and more raids going on. Looks like VortiX was able to find a couple more worker kills behind all of this as well. I feel like there might have also been a little bit of downtime, though, on VortiX TC as the village count is still even between the two.
Definitely seems like there's gaps, and it comes back to the idea that horse archers requires a lot more attendance. You know, you had to babysit them in the fights. And the horsemen, they have been revealed early. I don't think this is the count that CsO was looking for when he was going to ambush him. The veterancy is coming in soon, though, but it's next to a tree line. The issue with this is it's very hard to actually reach around the back. Now, the surprising part is VortiX is still reluctant to charge into this. He's trying to pull away from this small group of crossbows to make it a better trade. And it's just that natural layering with horse archers, right? You want to keep staggering so you can keep the distance and just not lose out on the worst attack speed.
Yeah, VortiX at this point in time, though, he does have the significant mass advantage.
This is getting ridiculous.
So many Cav Archers, and is this a significant mass advantage now? Where he's able to do just so much damage to these knights.
He's going to roll them.
And there they go. They're all done.
You know you're screwed when he doesn't move away with the horse archers anymore, and he doesn't wait around. GG gets called. VortiX reminds us that CsO may be a rising star, but VortiX is a micromaster in these cav battles and has been for years.
And exactly, and looking at the total resource gathered here as well, VortiX with the ruse. I mean, you would think that CsO with 40% faster gathering with the HRE would pull ahead in this one, but no. The ruse, they're just non-stop gathering of those deer, high trade house whatsoever, and I mean, with the bounty as well, they're getting up to 15% faster gathering there on the food, and I mean, pays off a lot.
So you're suggesting there might be a reason why people are banning ruse more than HRE?
I think people might be onto something here. I mean, just looking at those fights time and time again, this big ball of Cav Archers here, it just absolutely demolishes anything that it gets its hand onto. It doesn't really matter if you do get the +2 armor on top of it. It just means that your opponent's going to need a couple more in order to be able to one-shot. At the end, you'll still get kited.
Yeah, I think that the Saint's Blessings are also very interesting. And you saw like VortiX kept trying to use it elegantly, where it was just like a one-off buffer where you're essentially like hitting delete on one unit to buff a lot of your others. Because you have to remember that Saint's Blessing, you get the +1/+1. So you get an armor and you get damage. You get the +2, in fact. So what's happening there is you're actually mitigating the barding altogether for the Knights of the HRE. But then you're also getting a little bit more tankiness yourself. So a very interesting dynamic there. And, you just see why this has just remained a staple pick for Roost against many different matchups. It's just crazy how efficient you're able to be between Pro Scouts, the passive deer spawn to keep the Knight spam going, and the fact that at the back line, these Horse Archers, a lot of it is coming from wood, which you're never running out of.
A very, very efficient unit there. You're also getting the 20% bonus wood there, right? And just not costing gold means that you can spend all the gold on upgrades instead. And granted, VortiX didn't get that many upgrades in this game, but he could have. But it's also the reason of like you don't need horticulture because you're on deer anyways. Like survival techniques is going to be more than enough there for you. Next game though, it's going to be on excavation, as you mentioned, KP. We are going to be seeing the Mongols coming in here from CSO on the other side, House of Lancaster. So both of these civilizations most definitely going to be able to make use of that bonus stone from those excavation sites.
Yeah, big shout out to Avale for this map. We featured it for the very first time in competitive gameplay in Midweek Muster a few months back, actually, I think it was now. Crazy how fast time flies. And I remember the time I was like, hey, if you can just tweak these things, I'm going to slap it in a tournament straight away. Within 24 hours, had made the changes. And it's interesting because it's a map I think maybe a year or two from now, we'll look at it as being a bit gimmicky when we figured out better use of the point of interest. But the thing that Avali noticed, and I noticed, is like people don't really have many areas to experiment with the Forgotten Ruins, the ones that generate stone. So this map is very unique in that fast castling civs in the middle of a fast castling meta are actually crippled because there's no relics. You have to excavate them, hence the name. You have to dig them up. So all of a sudden you have different strategies. There's definitely a few lead ones that make sense. So Abbasids comes to mind, House of Lancaster, Mongols. These are all civs that actually do a lot with stone early on and desire it. Whereas other ones, like English, French, Malians, they're going to look at this map and go, why have I been picked here?
Just gotta wait a little bit longer until we see the HRE outpost creep forward TC into outposts. That's a strategy that
you want the
implemented.
You want the outpost
like
rush Forgotten
TC.
Ruins? Oh,
you did the forward town center in order to have the emergency repair on the front side then with the HRE. That's a staple play.
I think that's like rookie stuff, Crackedy. I think you need to be picking Roost, Kremlin dropping their base, and then you've now got all the stone you need to afford all the wooden fortress emplacements.
Could do.
So that does mean like Frisian, when it comes down to it, it's going to be classic English French versus either China or Malians. Old Frisian, I would give like this draft to VortiX to win if we go 3 games, but like new Frisian has been intriguing. There's a surprising like difference in the move to the trade post in the center, and also the fishing being further away. So we could have a very competitive series, and I'm already predicting if we do go map 3, CSO is going to go French because English don't have knights until age 3.
Yeah, and CSO does like some knights, but next one, it's going to be Excavation. VortiX already, though, on match point, as we are only playing best of 3s here right now. And we're jumping in to our game number 2 now on Excavation. And look at that spawn here. CSO in the color red with the Mongols does have a beautiful Uvu right next to his TC. And what more could you ask on a map like this, KP?
Oh, yes. This is step 1 in the chef's kiss of this strategy. CSO has picked Mongols on a map where you can generate 60 stone per minute, times that by 4 around your base, plus the Uvu, which is 70 going up to 100. Now, the reason that's important is to build extra villages is going to cost you, I believe, 124 stone per double vill production. So if you capture all these Forgotten Ruins, you almost have 100% uptime on double production. It is crazy. You can basically have a 2 TC build by like 6 minutes without having to invest in the TC.
Yeah, it's free! Exclamation mark. Well,
Wink.
Not just exclamation mark, but also a little star there in between, because you are idling out a villager for the stone that you're getting. Right?
You are, but it's like double the efficiency of a standard villager, right? Which is why it's seen as like desirable. And I think like the other thing is for Mongols is even more highly desirable because you get a lot of flex in what you can do with your stone. On the other side, VortiX, this play is going to make a lot of sense for him as well. Rack's beginning, not because he's worried the Mongols are going to harass him, it's because you're very efficient at getting these early spears out and you can use them to capture the Forgotten Ruins, which is then going to generate the stone you'd require to go into the mana build. So yeah, like these have been the two standout picks. We noticed it when Excavation was first introduced. Bastards was also kind of like on the cuff as like a 3 TC, 4 TC booming civ. But these were by far the standout too.
Honestly, KP, I don't think necessarily the win condition is going to be on the double villager production here for Mongols. I think you could probably do a lot more early aggression with double military production as well in this particular matchup, I want to say, especially.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, right? Like, can you actually get enough leverage out of Stone Gathering to get a push on into Lancaster before they mana up? With this type of spawn, it's backward spawning gold. Like, it might be a little bit tricky, but not impossible. And VortiX has suckered CSO into a spear on spears. So, like, I think step one, I kind of favor Lancaster's position here, just because this is playing direct blocker to the efficient timing of Forgotten Runes.
Yeah, see, so he did manage to get a couple of spears outside of the space, so he's going to start capturing up these first Forgotten Ruins. And VortiX, he invested heavily into the Spearman, but he's also now going to fall back and try and invest into his own Forgotten Ruins. No move out onto the gold mine yet from him, but that should also happen soon as he will want to prep for his own age up.
Yeah, and sometimes what we do see out of Lancaster is they'll actually move the villager to the south side, Forgotten Ruins, and build the racks in house there. A little bit like an Unlight Horizon, because you can almost capture the thing just with a villager alone. The reason he didn't do it here is it's Mongols. It is a backward spawning racks placement, so you're unlikely to get harassed there, but you don't really want to give Mongols free opportunities to burn buildings. So just a little bit safer for that reason. And he even ends up potting the villager inside the Ford Forgotten Ruins because of the nature of this back and forth spear spam.
Yeah, it means that the villager is in theory like kind of stuck there, at least for the time being. You could in theory get him out, but by the time that you want to get him out, it's probably already surrounded.
So, like, interesting thing here, though, if this turns into a full spear spam and they fight over that Forgotten Ruins, CSO's at a disadvantage. There's something very interesting about English and Lancaster with these Forgotten Ruins. Their villagers can attack while inside. So keep an eye out for that. If we do end up seeing a fight over it, I wonder if VortiX is aware. I think the way it works is you have to, like, you click an enemy to attack, and then you shift-click into the Forgotten Ruins. And then from then on, your guy will just keep attacking people who come in range.
Might also be able to hotkey him while he's outside, and then use the tech command with the hotkey while he's inside.
Yeah, you might be right on that. Like, so we have another map called Receding that has these central Forgotten Runes, and I noticed it in a game where like a Mongol player tried to aggro, and I was like, wait a second, what's that tiny little line coming out from the Forgotten Runes? And it turned out he'd turned a Forgotten Runes into a mini outpost.
And the VortiX is going to be the first one to age up. CSO has invested into a similar amount of spearmen behind all of this. Did manage to make some use of the dial production there as well. CSO, though, it looks like he hasn't put any... Or has he? Has he put a villager inside of these?
He's put one. Yeah, he's definitely put one because of the income. Remember, like, you only get 70 stones in
exactly,
H1.
It's more than an Uvu.
Yeah. But he's moving the second one out now, right? So this is where he'll start to just skim in double production if he chooses, which is an interesting way of trying to keep up with the mana spam of Lancaster.
Definitely going to be necessary. VortiX behind this already just passively gathered up the stone needed for at least one mana, but he hasn't moved out onto any of the additional Forgotten Runes yet, so he isn't able to really put a lot more speed into that. You typically have like 2 Forgotten Runes in order to keep up with your normal stone income with 4 villagers.
And this is problematic when you just can't actually gather them. You have to run away. Spears are coming in though, so villager will be saved in time, but the difference is the timing on this. The Hardened status, the tech up, it means CSO actually has to forfeit the Forgotten Runes. Now, VortiX didn't fully decap because he now knows there's no way his opponent wants to come back to that, right? Like, you wouldn't stick a villager in the middle of all those Hardened spearmen. He's already pulled back from both, so the passive stone strat... Actually, wait, no, he hasn't pulled back. A bold move.
Yeah, villager's still there. He's going to pull back now.
There we go. Yeah, he was just trying to min-max the stone he got, and it has paid off. Like, he's sitting at 400 stone passive, but now very weak in these fights, and The problem is what VortiX is doing behind this. This is an FC build.
Yeah, very quick, fast CsOH build here, potentially from VortiX. And I mean, in theory, though, I want to say like CSO has the tools necessary in order to play up against this. And you mentioned earlier as well, KP, he's not going to be able to get any relics in for a good amount of time.
No. Yeah, this is just raw about the value of the Earlsguard, right? Typically, that's what we see here. Like, if you're truly fast casting in Lancaster, I'm trying to think if there's really a build that makes sense for King's College, and I'm coming up dry. I think the Earlsguard timing has proven to be one of the most bullish builds in Age of Empires 4 currently. And Spear Spread is going to come out. It's going to turn into a micro battle. VortiX, in people's minds, should be favored here, and he's definitely proving it with the way he's expressing his micro. Just getting brilliant trades. Not a single boy going down. Finally, one of the blue spears does fall. The price has been heavy. CSO's just getting swarmed by all the injured spearmen on the north side. So he's going to be able to clean up. And behind this, he's only, what, half a minute away from triggering the age up.
Yeah, Archer's coming in now, though. Means also that VortiX isn't going to be able to capture up any more of these Forgotten Ruins, though, at least for a good amount of time. And VortiX, he's incentivized into this Earlsguard play, as he says, because he already has that Dark Age barracks going for him. So we'll definitely be able to just pump out immediate Earlsguard as a follow-up. He spawns with 3 for free, and then just is able to continue building. And there we go, White Tower is coming in now. And these Earlguards, they move a lot quicker on normal meta arms, 1.25 tiles per second movement speed compared to 1.12. So they're able to keep up with villagers running away as well. Though CSO does have the Deer Stones, and now Wheelbarrow coming in as well. So his villagers, they're going to be Speedy Gonzalez as well.
Yeah, these guys are like pretty nuts. And the Keshik response is interesting. They can be an answer, but you need enough to commit because the dagger throws will hit you first, right? And it's 17 damage per strike into a cavalry unit that's basically weaker on HP and stats than a normal knight. So this is the thing that's been very polarizing. You'd think crossbows are the answer as well. Surprisingly not. I think for crossbow spam, like, you need to have a lot of patience. There are certain civs that can handle this Earlsguard timing, like China. Maybe Mongols could be one of them with double production, but to do that, CSO still has to find a way to age up first. He's far off.
We are getting the Keshiks in. At least we'll have the support of the double production there to help him out there. CSO does notice this. Is going to get the Falcon in, so he will know exactly which landmark it will be. Is going to lose the scout for it, though. Not that the Khan really makes a big difference here, as he does have armored units now running towards his base.
And running is appropriate here. You'd think a man with that much heavy armor on would be slow. But I'm pretty sure, like, I think they actually are carrying Mjolnirs there. And it is simply the God's weapon that is accelerating them through the map. Like 1.25 movement speed on a unit that hits harder because of the White Tower and also has a ranged attack.
Yeah, you can tell, like, those Keshiks, they gotta respect it, right? And CSO, he's in a very, very difficult position now, I want to say, and it is very tough to, like you got to find your way out of feudal age at some point in time, or you have to really commit hard and take decent enough engagements, because if you don't, eventually you might just get overrun. One benefit that he has, though, is that VortiX doesn't have a single manor yet, and look at that. Looks like the fight so far. Yeah, it's going well.
He needs to target these down. There we go. Gets one. But 1-to-1 exchange, I mean, it's expensive for CSO, but considering it's an age behind, that's not bad. This is all about critical mass. Like, for Lancaster, so the Keshiks have, what, 145 HP? I think they have, like, 3 armor. And you do 17 damage per strike. So you're looking at, like, once you're about 10-ish or 11 Earlsguard, you'll be able to one-hit these Keshiks. That's when CSO needs to be concerned.
Yeah. There we go. Another spear throw comes out.
Great micro.
Keshiks get sniped.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing as well. Like, you'd think, hey, you know, this isn't too bad. I mean, it's like, it's a dagger throw, but it has a cooldown, right? 15 seconds. It feels like it's going to take you that long to gap close.
Yeah, VortiX, he's also doing a great job with the scout there of just trying to body block for the charges. Once again, dagger throw comes in. CSO, he's trying to go for a surround with the Keshiks. He's going to run past the scout. No charge blocker this time around.
Yep, gets in hard. And remember, in melee mode, they do actually contest quite well anyway. On top of that, he has the undermesh just in case Steel Arrow is going to be coming through. But we can see CSO is fully fixated on using the Keshiks. And make no mistake about it, folks. Not just in the Dark Age, but now Feudal versus Castle. This continues to be an absolute battle of micro. one that CSO is winning.
He's going to have to run back. He's got a lot more of these Earls got out, but they were all just trickling over. Didn't have the great master that he needed, and you mentioned KP, you just, like, the significant amount, the critical mass, it is relatively low for the Earls Guards to start one-shotting these Keshiks, but now Step Redoubt is going to be coming in here for CSO.
Yeah, and Step Readout, the gold reputation, the fact that he's also now on 3 Forgotten Runes. He's about to garrison that 3rd one, right? So the Stone Gen is going to be phenomenal for him. VortiX is forced to actually switch off of Earl's Guard onto Crossbowman. So CSO has succeeded in doing where many people fail. He's forced the Lancaster to do something other than just spam Earl's Guard.
Yeah, VortiX, he's now rebalanced his economy a lot more onto wood, so will be able to make use of the stone that he gathered up passively so far by potentially going into a couple of manors. But he's going to have to really be cautious here with what he's going to be going next, what his next game plan is going to be, because now CSO, he's going to be able to grab veterancy upgrades, and he's already got a decent amount of units out that scale really nicely in Castle Age.
Now, something that is a little bit weird about this map for Mongols is you kind of don't ever want to excavate the relics, which sounds super counterintuitive. Like, other civs will eventually do it. Like Lancaster, they want the stone, but eventually they don't need stone anymore. But for Mongols, there's an interesting thing, and honestly, I think it might have been an oversight by the devs, but with the point of interest, if you keep ungarrisoning, the stone, like, it never digs up a relic. It resets the timer. Meanwhile, we have actually got a clash on the front side, and the Keshiks have already been upgraded. But they are outnumbered right now, and the crossbows are getting great shots in. Switches them over to a full HP Keshik. Is going to be enough to start clearing that heavy cav line, but both of them are exhausting themselves on this push.
Yeah, the issue here was VortiX. He did a great engagement move there by making CSO charge into the stone mine, meaning that a lot of the knights, they were just busy moving around the stone outcropping and not actually attacking for the good 5-6 seconds opening of this fight.
Played out well. And, well, you know what I said about, like, you don't want to exhaust the Forgotten Runes? CSO just started queuing up a Monk. Huh. And the I guess all protection for the Forgotten Runes. What? Well, that's an interesting way to capture a Forgotten Runes. I don't think I've seen someone try it that way before.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you can do, for sure. Stable's gonna have to get re-garrisoned now. CSO, he needs a lot more crossbows, but it's kind of difficult for him to get the mass in at the moment.
It's so hard.
He's able to double produce.
He's also missing... He's missing the Khan Hunter, which at least gives you a bit better of a chance. Yeah, like, this is the awkward thing, right? Like, you'd think crossbows count as Earl's Guard, but it really doesn't. It's quite depressing. You're slower than Earl's Guard. They have 1.5 more tower range than you, and they actually hit as hard as you do. Like, a crossbowman is what? I think it's 11 plus 8, and the Earl's Guard hit for 17 on a dagger throw.
Yeah, it's...
it's plus 10, yeah. It's a sad existence.
Quite mathing.
No, especially when you consider Earl's Guard have a lot more health as well. So even if you were in range, percentage-wise of damage done to health, you're not winning. Definitely one of the most polarizing units. And we do have a lot of wood now from VortiX, which indicates we're probably looking at mana level 2 unlock. So it's just going to keep scaling eco now. But this Monk play from CSO, I don't know what it was for anymore. Like, he built a single Monk. Maybe it was to steal VortiX's Relic. If it was to get his own, it's way too early. Like, if we check the Forgotten Runes, I'm pretty sure he still has like 2 or 3 minutes on a lot of those.
Yeah. Behind this, VortiX is now also scaling into his own manners.
Wait, what? the Monk is standing there, and he literally just refreshed it. Or he just walked out to it the first time. Either way, this is like a catastrophic transition.
It's gonna take a while.
Yeah. And CSO, is he trying to... I'm trying to figure out what he's doing with his macro right now. He's floating almost 1,500 gold.
I mean, it's all the gold that you're just getting in passively, well, not really passively, but actively from the Step Redoubt. It's just such a strong landmark in the regards of gold generation.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting more units queued up now, more crossbows, more Keshiks. But the army count from VortiX, it's looking very, very dangerous at this point in time.
So
he's heading up though a little bit, and VortiX, he's going all the way to 9 manors.
He is. And then, like, you just rush Imperial Age, which is the bread and butter of Lancaster, right? And it's funny because both these civs like rushing in when they can. interesting thought for you about the Elsguard from Lancaster, though. You know, Crossbows struggles to actually like deal with it fast. So does Springles, actually. You'd think Springles would do pretty well until you realize that it only takes 11 Elsguard to insta-kill a Springles.
Oh, man.
It's just like,
Great
this unit mathematically is wild. Because, like, you're never going to rush it. Oh, hold on a sec.
Great, though.
Nice hit. Catches the Stone Gatherers on the front side. But the thing is, this is a... I don't know, does VortiX really even need to gather the stone on the front side? Could he have just, like, chill-pilled this and taken the stone passively?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. It's just that he had better things to do for his villagers. Looks like he does still have a good couple of them garrisoned in, though. And he did want to rush in. Like, he got both the mana upgrades right after each other. So he definitely want to get, like, to the maximum amount very, very quickly. And we're seeing more and more of these coming. Yeah, these should be the last two, actually, that he needs. So he'll be fully kitted out with manners in just a tiny little bit there.
He's gonna levy. Look at what he's prepping.
Yeah, we are gonna see the mass yeoman coming in now. CsOH hasn't lost any villagers yet, which is great for him. And right now the army count is even. Right now. Take a snapshot and look again in 30 seconds.
Yeah, and this is a good timing because of what CSO wants to do. Like, he stopped piling stone, right? He wanted to transition into, I think, mass emplacements and just imp. He had like 500 stone. What did he just spend that on, actually? Like, was that improved forestry? No way is that expensive.
Improved forestry? Nah.
No, there must be... Yeah, so 75 stone there.
It is.
But he had 530. I think... Has he started to double produce villages? He must have. TC. It's the only thing that would make sense.
It can't be, right? Because the TC is very far away from the Ubu.
Oh, you're right. Like,
it's actually getting the prayer tent upgrade in.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because the weird thing is, like, if it was spring on placements, we would see it queued, right? And whatever it is, he just got the stone back again. So he cancelled something. And he's getting ready for him. On the other side, though, VortiX is getting ready for a push. He's got Billman Spears coming.
Man.
The Yeoman count is already good enough to annihilate. I don't think CSO survives this.
This looked like VortiX might be going for an imp himself, but no, suddenly just spams out more and more units. And this is a large army mass now. CsOH, I don't think he... Yeah, I mean, he sees the army now. The question is, can he pivot around? Can he make enough units? Because the second he ages up, he's going to get all in. There we go. We're just seeing mass outposts coming up inside of his base now. Every single one of those has to get a sprinkle in placement ASAP.
The problem is the blob of spears and Elsguard, right? That's the torch power you need to kill. And, you know, this is the thing that's crazy about Lancaster. Like, CSO was right to think that this was an imp play, but Lancaster are so quick at readjusting their economy because of the Lancaster castle and the ability to muster troops. He got an extra 16 yeomen like that, and you have no time to react to it. It's ridiculous just how quickly you get this up. It's almost like having a Burgrave effect as a side effect of a tier 2 landmark.
There we go, outpost getting targeted now. CsOH, he's going to have a little bit of a window here to potentially take down some of these melee units now. But yeah, the Yeoman, they're immediately going for the crossbows, and suddenly you don't have a backline anymore. Spring placements still need a little bit more time to come in.
First finally going to be there.
Now, second one, there we go. But is it enough? The entire army's gone.
And then, so the melee count is low, but yes, you've lost everything. This is the thing. You killed a lot of melee, but now the yeomen just dominate you. They may not be able to kill you outright, but they can suffocate you on the economy. Dive past, chases onto the workers. He gives it up. He throws in the towel, and VortiX will make it an annihilating 2-0. And what a way to do it with Lancaster. It just shows you how dominant and volatile this Civ can be with its transitions.
Looking at that military value lead there, at one point, VortiX, he was massing up resources, just having them there in the bank, and then at one point he was like, okay, now we go, and he just pumped out so many units so quickly. And CsOH, who was thinking about going for Imperial Age, just got caught in the transition and just wasn't able to recover there now.
Yeah, fantastically well played. I mean, this is the thing we've been seeing time and time again. It's just that pivot into the yeoman. It just catches so many people off guard. If it's not that, it actually comes earlier. You get caught off guard a lot of time actually by the demi-lancers, right? And you know, the one that I'll say doesn't really come out is obviously like the tier 3 one, right? We very rarely see that being that impactful, but it's the the presence that it gives you from no presence at all, if that makes sense, right? Like another way to think about this is like, especially with a Demi-Lancer play, it's like you're getting a mass knight play without even spending on stables. With the yeoman, you have to invest in it, but it means that if you're delayed going into veterancy, where most civs would have to wait an extra 2 minutes, you already have the army.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the flood of units out immediately. It's one of the reasons why the levying has to be so expensive, just because it scales with the manners, right? Like if you made it just cheaper and have like fewer units coming out, it wouldn't make such a big difference here.
Hey, VortiX, congrats, mate, on the 2-0. I mean, first of all, like, give yourself a big flex here, because I know we were talking the other day, and you weren't sure if you've had enough practice for this, but something must have hit, right, based on this series we just saw.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, thank you. I haven't been getting as much practice as I used to, but I have practice, right? And I think I'm really good at preparing series, even if I don't practice too hard. And yeah, I think everything went my way, so it was a nice series.
I mean, it must be a nice way to flex as well. I think that game one in particular, we always talk about CSO and how he loves his cavalry play. Really feels like he tries to make it about micro, and I think it'd be fair to say CSO has surprised a lot of people with how well he executes these cavalry compositions. How do you approach dealing with a player like that?
I wouldn't say it's pure micro, it's just basically trying to be annoying everywhere, raiding. He's also really good at defending, like, I'm not sure how good his scouting was, but it felt like he was always prepared for my raid, so he's probably really good at, like, dividing army and and not abusing the select all army hotkey like I do sometimes. So the thing is, I think my style is really good against that, because most of the time I'm the aggressor, so I think he doesn't have enough space to like get all the raids that he wants. So, and also the matchups I think were helpful. Like I think when you're playing Rus HRE, for example, I think you are always going to have the upper hand attacking. So I think overall good maps, like drafting is important against him. And then my style also helps.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing you brought up, is like, your style and also his focus on raiding. The way I've described CSO recently is almost like a Chinese Lucifron. Does that track in your eyes, and does that maybe make it a bit advantageous that you're already very familiar with that playstyle?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think Lucifron is more about that. He has better build orders. I think he's more accurate with everything. But then I also think CsOH is like super active with raids. I think that's his strongest point, I feel like. And Lucifron lately he's more chill, he's not like me anymore. So I mean, I guess it helps. Yeah, they're kind of similar in some way. But honestly, I think CsOH maybe is more similar to me than he is to Lucifron right now, I would say.
That's interesting. I think the early days I said he was like you, and then it felt like he was becoming more like Lucifron. But speaking of you, playstyle wise, I think at the start of the year, we heard from Beastie about how like you scrim with him a lot, and it almost felt like you rubbed off on each other, where you became a little bit more chill in your timings. Do you feel like you're gravitating back towards a very aggressive line of Age of Empires 4?
Maybe. I mean, it's sometimes when I'm like when I'm a bit burnt out from like practicing, or actually from not practicing, I don't know. When I feel weird, I tend to have this thing where I'm super aggressive, and then when I'm feeling confident, I think I'm more chill and I'm more comfortable going into the late game. Right now, I don't know which version I am. I only played CsOH, and I know playing aggressive against him is good, but we will see going farther. I think I'm a more complete player now than I was like 1 year ago, for sure, or even 6 months ago. So that's something that I've improved a lot.
I'd agree. I think maybe actually taking a break, going to different RTSs gives you a different perspective, right? Now, speaking of familiar perspective, final thing to ask you. Next set, don't want to write it off already. It's still going on. It's between Beastie and Voldemort. Beastie seems likely there. How do you feel about your chances up against your former scrim partner?
It's always really hard because it's like, it's so weird to play against Beastie because he practices some things on his stream, or you see him playing certain strategies, and then in tournaments it's like completely different. I think he's really good at decision making and strategy, and he doesn't really have to practice a lot in order to make the right decisions or use the right strategies. And that's always scary because you watch his stream and you analyze his gameplay, and then you face something completely different. So it's always scary, and obviously he's very good. He's accurate at everything, so it's hard for sure. But I think it's also best of 3, which is you can beat anyone in best of 3, I think.
All right. Well, we'll have to see how you do with that. Good luck with that series, mate. We've got to move on with the broadcast, but I'm looking forward to seeing how the results go there.
Thank you.